Gotham City set in the 1940s. A gang war is raging through the city. Corruption runs even within the police force. An urban legend known as Batman is terrorizing criminals. The first season of Batman, Caped Crusader, has premiered on Prime Video, and it's finally time to analyze all the Easter eggs and details in this spoiler-filled review. Join me here in this video to stay updated on everything. Welcome to Comic Chronicles. Batman, Caped Crusader debuted in first place on the top 10 most watched list on Prime Video. The new animated series is set in the 1940s but utilizes current techniques, bringing a new version of Batman in his early days of fighting crime. The first episode serves as a good introduction to the main characters of this season while also introducing the villain of the moment. But before we dive into the details, make sure to give a bat like to the video and hit that bat subscribe button here on the channel. Become part of this community that is a fan of Batman by subscribing, and don't miss any videos in this marathon of reviews on Caped Crusader. Clarence, one of Penguin's henchmen, is being interrogated by two other mob henchmen because someone is leaking information to his rival, Rupert Thorne. Without answers, Penguin decides to take matters into her own hands. Meanwhile, Thorne's gang is loading cargo onto trucks, trying to hide everything before a police raid at their warehouse. Not that they're worried about the police since they have the entire department on their payroll, but they do fear that Batman might foil their plans. They were right to be concerned, as the Bat appears to stop them. However, during the fight, a bomb hits the warehouse, completely destroying it. Luckily, Batman was fighting a henchman outside. At Wayne Manor, Alfred and Bruce try to figure out who is ordering the explosions and why. So far, there have been 3 explosions in 2 weeks, all at Rupert Thorne's shell companies, declaring a gang war. There is a suspicion that someone in the police department is covering up the explosions. In this scene in the Batcave, there are some interesting details to note. As we've seen in the trailers, this Batcave is much more contained. There's no dinosaur, giant penny, or other souvenirs, not to mention all the technology Batman usually has at his disposal today. Here, we see Bruce rely entirely on his detective skills to solve cases, and this lack of technology fits well with the setting depicted in this animation. Furthermore, Alfred has a look that harkens back to his early appearances in the comics when he was Alfred Beagle, but here in the animation, they kept the last name Pennyworth. Right off the bat, we see that the relationship between Bruce and Alfred isn't very good, due to the nature of the Caped Crusader. Continuing with the episode, in court, Barbara Gordon and Harvey Dent discuss an ongoing trial where Barbara questions Harvey for only thinking about politics and being willing to take questionable actions to promote his campaign for mayor, forgetting that he should be working for justice. This is the moment where we see the introduction of 2 extremely important characters for the season. Barbara Gordon is a lawyer, and right in this first episode, we see a small rivalry between her and Harvey Dent, the district attorney. The unfolding plot for these 2 characters will lead to something very interesting that will happen in the later episodes. Additionally, the development of Harvey Dent is quite good. He is a petty person focused solely on becoming mayor while also wanting to do what's best for the city, giving us an intriguing duality. At night, Batman breaks into the GCPD files to discover that Fire Inspector Wilfred Lee is falsifying the explosion reports. He then interrogates Lee and finally learns that Penguin is behind everything. This interrogation scene on the train tracks is very well done and animated. We also see more of Batman's coldness, revealing him to be someone filled with rage. At the Iceberg Lounge ship, the villainess throws a charity event attended by the whole police department and Gotham's elites. Of course, Bruce Wayne has to be there. Now we see Bruce Wayne socially acting as the billionaire playboy for the first time. One thing I want to highlight is the comic relief this animation has at some moments. In my opinion, they work very well, and although they are more contained than in Batman, the animated series, the few jokes we have here are well placed. Additionally, we also see that Bruce and Harvey are friends. Next, Thorne decides to show up, and Penguin doesn't waste time taking jabs at him about the explosions. While boasting, he accidentally discovers that his rival only escaped alive because one of his sons turned him in. At the party, Bruce distracts the crowd around him, slips away, and begins to investigate the ship, but almost gets caught and only manages to escape because of an opening to the sea in the ship's hull. Penguin and her sons enter the room where Bruce was and question them about the betrayal. One points a finger at the other, but she says she already knows who the traitor is. Then she traps her favorite son in a trunk and throws him into the sea through the opening in the ship, taking his life. Her other son, the actual culprit, panics and calls Thorne, begging for protection and a place in the gang, but Thorne says he would never accept someone who can betray their own mother into his gang. He then seeks help from Barbara Gordon, telling her everything that happened and how scared he is for his life. Barbara drives to take the villain's son to James Gordon, but they are chased and ambushed along the way by Penguin's henchmen, who have discovered the living son's plans. Luckily, Batman appears and takes down the henchman with the Batmobile to protect the two, showing here for the first time the Batmobile in Caped Crusader. Although it has its unique design, it still resembles the first Batmobile from the comics, which was a red car. Soon, Barbara and Penguin's son manage to reach the police station and tell Gordon everything, including about the customized military cannon that Penguin has set up on the Iceberg Lounge and can use to destroy anything she wants. Harvey Bullock and Detective Flass overhear everything and call Penguin, showcasing this corrupt pair of police officers who will cause many problems throughout the season. Thinking that she might fire at the police department, Barbara sets off the fire alarm and evicts the building while James Gordon calls the Coast Guard to stop the ship. Meanwhile, Batman heads to the Iceberg Lounge, where Penguin is already preparing to fire her cannon. He defeats the villain's henchman and tries to stop her, but she uses the handle of her umbrella to activate the cannon, destroying the GCPD. When the Coast Guard arrives at the scene, the henchmen are still down, and Batman, as always, has already slipped away unnoticed. The next morning, in the Batcave, Bruce and Pennyworth study the extent of Penguin's former empire to figure out their next steps, as now that the mobster has been apprehended, her rival Rupert Thorne is poised to take over her empire, and Batman must be prepared, thus closing the first episode. Despite being a strong start, the series kicks off with its likely biggest controversy, which is the gender change that Penguin has undergone here. Honestly, I wasn't bothered by it. The character was written interestingly. It was not merely a change in gender, her coldness ensured that she had no remorse in sacrificing her children to win the gang wars in the city. What matters most to her is the power of the Mafia. At the moment Batman is in his bat boat, you can see several bags with bodies that Penguin has thrown into the ocean in the background, already hinting at this villain's characteristics. Basically, the main characteristics of Penguin that we are used to seeing are present here, and additional details were added that made this character quite intense. In my opinion, the way a character is developed within a story is the most important factor, so this change didn't bother me. The only downside to this episode, in my opinion, was how everything concluded. I felt like Penguin had much more to be explored, but since she was confined to just one episode, there wasn't room in the narrative, and it had to be resolved rather hastily, especially now that there's a new standard for the number of episodes in a series per season. We no longer have animated hero shows with 20 episodes or more. The current standard is a bit more contained. Despite all this, I believe Penguin will return in a future season to try to make a comeback. To learn more about the Batman universe, I will leave some good comic book recommendations in the description of this video. By using our affiliate links, you help our channel without paying anything extra for it. Thank you very much for all the support you give us. This episode was good, although it may be the weakest compared to the others, it was still very interesting. The introductions of the characters and their arcs were very well established here. I also liked how this Gotham City was portrayed, being a very dirty city where corruption runs even within the police force, with only a few wanting to do the right thing for the city. It was a beautiful start. Thank you very much for your presence in this video. Write in the comments your opinion about this episode. Did you like it? Have you finished watching the first season? Comment below. Tap on that sphere appearing on your screen and subscribe to our channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any reviews about Batman, Caped Crusader. See you in the next video.